What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles, welcoming you to another installment of Lyles Figure Files. If you've been collecting wrestling figures, 2022 has been a really good year. Mattel continues to crank out great figures in their WWE line. Jazzware's AEW figure line is really rolling. Lots of new characters, new figures hitting the shelves seemingly weekly. But I think the best is still yet to come for 2022 in terms of wrestling collecting. Mattel's got that new generation arena set to arrive. I think the ring is actually on ships now, making its way over to the US. And I cannot wait to put that sucker together, have a ring that fits in scale with my WWE Elite and Ultimate Edition figures better. That light up entrance that I can use with both my late 80s and early 90s guys. All the various different ring skirts, 3 more Ultimate Edition figures. And I'm really looking forward to that. Also, we've got what might be Mattel's greatest WWE figure to come with that Ultimate Edition 13 Hulk Hogan. That sucker looks incredible and I want all of it. So looking forward to getting those. There's so many great figures Jazzwares has coming with their AEW set. I mean, turn around, there's another wave showing up. Last week I got Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta. Went to Target the next week. There I've already had the Eddie Kingston, Ricky Starks, Will Hobbs line already. I'm like, geez, I can't keep up. But that's good because I like to see more figures on shelves. But one figure line that doesn't have any representation right now, but will be soon back later on in the fall is PowerTown Wrestling. This line is so pulling on my nostalgia heartstrings in terms of my favorite era of wrestling, the 80s. And they've got so many figures signed, so many characters contracted up, and now we're going to start seeing them. But in the interim, PowerTown has been showing more images beyond just, hey, here's the first wave of characters. They're showing pictures, prototypes, video turnarounds, accessories of these guys. And with every reveal, I'm getting more and more excited about this line. So the first wave, if you don't remember, it's old school legends Luthez, Vern Gagne. Then we've got the All Japan versions of Stan the Lariat Hansen, Ted DiBiase when they were rocking as a tag team. It's very cool to get a different version of DiBiase. And we've also got Magnum TA and Kerry Von Erich. And the coolest thing with these prototype turnaround videos, every one of them has a different unique belt, with the exception of DiBiase and Hansen because they're a tag team, so they're rocking tag team titles. But man, that Luthez title, it looks really good. We've got the AWA World title with Vern Gagne. Kerry Von Erich is rocking the World Class Association Heavyweight Championship. And Magnum TA has the classic vintage 80s US title. And with all these hundreds now of figures I have from Mattel with their WWE line, and even before them with Jax, I really wanted those old school titles, and to be able to have a US title that I can rock with my Tully Blanchard, with my Dusty Rhodes, with my Lex Luger figure. Having that in the figure belt arsenal is going to be amazing. But the detail on these figures looks so good, and the head sculpts look great. It's not just that great render, but the physical prototype they're showing looks just as good. Vern Gagne looks cool. I can't wait to get him, just to have him on my shelf. I'm not sure if I'm going to get Luthez, but that title and how he looks really turned out nicely as well. But I tell you, there's so many guys they've lined up that I can't wait to get in this line that I'm figuring I'm going to have a pretty massive collection of PowerTown wrestlers very soon. Now, this first wave is slated to come out in November, and they still haven't announced where they're going to put them out, where we're going to find them. If it's going to be online only, is it going to be at select retail offerings? But whichever way, I'm going to track them down. And if for nothing else, I am locked in for sure to get Magnum, to get Kerry, Stan Hansen. I mean, actually having a Stan Hansen figure is going to be so cool. Another guy to actually put against my Bruno Sammartino figure. Lex Luger again. He's going to pair up really nicely with that WWE Legends 16 or is it 15 Lex Luger. That's going to be really cool. He's even got the orange tights from when he was fighting Stan Hansen in Halloween Havoc 90. But getting a Kerry Von Erich is Kerry Von Erich. I know we got a really solid one from Mattel, but getting one from World Class, where he's the champion, fighting against Al Perez, Iceman King Parsons, the Freebirds, is so cool. And not just Kerry. They've already announced they've got the Von Erich sign, which means I will finally have a David Von Erich in my collection. I can add Mike Von Erich, and I can have a Kevin Von Erich that actually looks like Kevin Von Erich in my shelf. That's really cool. I'm so excited to be able to get these families of wrestling in one cohesive line. That's really cool. They've also signed the Poffos, so that's Angelo, Lenny, and Randy Poffo, which means I guess we're going to get a bunch of Macho Man's Memphis attires where he was rocking, or the time when he was in that promotion with his dad. That's cool because we get an old school Randy Savage, and it would be nice to have a different form of him to go along with that great collection that Mattel has cranked out all these years. This does probably mean I'm going to go have to find a graduation gown for a Genius figure with this figure so I can pair him up with my Mr. Perfect. But I'm really excited about that. Also, we're getting the Koloffs, and if you've read on any of my wish lists of figures, Nikita Koloff is super high on that list. So getting Nikita and Ivan Koloff is so exciting. And we haven't seen a lot of Demolition figures lately from Mattel. It's been years. So I'm wondering if Barry Darsow has also signed up with them, in which case we can get Crusher Crucia, so we can get all three of that nightmare trio from the NWA that just ran havoc on the Road Warriors and Dusty Rhodes. That would be so cool to have in a collection in 6-inch figure form. Having that war of those 6 guys together and just the 3 intimidating Russians. Have Magnum going against Nikita, best of 7 with the U.S. title that goes along with these guys. That is really cool. Also, we've got Bobby Heenan. And Mattel has already done 3 or 4 Bobby Heenan figures, including a Weasel suit. I think this one's going to focus more on Bobby's AWA tenure, which is cool because they've never done that style. But the Weasel suit actually originated from AWA. So that'll be cool to put that Weasel suit that Mattel made with this figure. And I think that clearly means we're going to get a Nick Bockwinkel at some point, probably a Ray Stevens as well. That's really cool to have that trio from AWA. Gene Okerlund is also signed up with this line, or his estate signed up, which is cool. We've got the definitive Mean Gene for WWF, WWE. We just don't have a WCW version, but we're going to have an AWA version, which is great. I'm really looking forward to it, fleshing out and having a figure display of AWA legends. I'm sure we're going to get Greg Gagne soon, maybe Jim Brunzell, so we can pair the high flyers up. That would be really fun. I hope that doesn't mean we won't be able to get the Killer Bees at some point. Steve Rosenthal, the head of this PowerTown Wrestling, said that some wrestlers, you're going to see some overlap with some wrestlers who were signed up with Mattel and other companies. They're not going to stop those figures from coming out, but after that next batch, they're going to say, all right, we're the license holder. We're not going to stop you guys from putting out what you've announced or not, whatever, but no more new figures of these guys. So hopefully we'll still get some WWF versions before their contracts go over to PowerTown, because there's still a few WWF versions of these guys I want to see as well. Also, just to show that it's not stuck in the 80s and just the early 90s, Diamond Dallas Page is also signed up with that. Of course, if you're an old school fan, you know Diamond Dallas Page was rocking in AWA, leading Bad Company, and I absolutely want Bad Company in a figure line in Bad Company attire. And I love the Destruction Crew, Wayne the Train Bloom, Mean Mike Enos. That would be really fun for me as well. Got the Vachons coming. Maybe that means Luna's going to come from them and not from Mattel. But I guess we're going to get the Butcher and Mad Dog. Really cool. Tony Atlas is signed up with this. Tito Santana. So for all that time, I've been going, hey, Mattel, you guys need a mid-80s Intercontinental Champion Tito Santana. We'll probably have a better stand-in from PowerTown. That's really exciting. Hillbilly Jim is also signed up. I don't think Mattel or WWE can hold down or lock down a dude in overalls. I don't think that's a totally WWF likeness deal. So I guess we can get him in his traditional outfit. That'll be cool. Medusa's coming. Harley Race. I don't know if that means that Mattel needs to hurry up and get a King Harley Race figure out there before those rights go to PowerTown. But a Harley Race NWA World Champion, really exciting. And I hope at some point they do clean shaven blonde version of Harley so I can have him be the manager of Lex Luger. That would definitely be something I want in my collection. And of course, the manager of Vader. Got Gorgeous George also signed up to this line. And Pedro Morales, which is so cool. And I was late in Pedro's run, so I didn't see him as a world champion or as tag team champion or intercontinental champion, but I did see him wrestling, putting on good matches with some of the new stars from the 80s coming in. So I'm really excited about getting him into my collection as well. George South is coming. And I think one that's going to be really exciting for a lot of collectors is Bruiser Brody. Seen a lot of customs using that Jack's head, the Mattel Elite bodies. Now we're going to have one to actually team up with Stan Hansen and Kerry Von Erich. So the possibilities, I think, that by far the most exciting for me with this line are the ability to have a really full AWA collection in their AWA looks. Maybe we get a Kurt Hennig, maybe not, but that would be really cool to have him, the whole AWA crew, Larry Zbyszko together, so you can have an AWA shelf of figures. Then you can also have old school mid 80s NWA. That's exciting. Koloffs, Magnum TA. And then you can also have a fully fleshed out world class display. It's not just going to be, oh, here's one or two guys that happen to stumble through that Mattel was able to sneak in and come out with figures. Now we're going to get their official looks from that time frame. So maybe that means we'll also get a Ted DiBiase from Mid-South with his black glove, maybe clean shaven, so he's part of Skandar Akbar's Devastation Incorporated, or even the Rat Pack. So much potential for this line, and I cannot wait to see the figures in hand, like myself having them in hand. There are few minor concerns that I'm hoping they address while they're still working on the figures. What we've seen so far is more of a old school elite articulation setup before Jazzwares made Mattel step up their game with better articulation. So it looks like they're single jointed elbows, single jointed knees. There's no thigh swivel. Those are articulation points that kind of feel like that should be the standard with any wrestling figure in 2022. So I've seen, Hasbro's done some figures that lack the double jointed elbow, but they have enough range that it doesn't matter. You get that same flow with the movement with the joints as you would with the double jointed elbow. Hopefully that's what they've set up. I'm really curious about the lack of thigh swivel. Maybe the way the tights set up, or the legs and hip articulation is set up in a way that you won't miss it. But that's something I'm kind of curious about as well. I think they should make sure that figures can do submission moves like a figure for a leg lock or a sharpshooter or, any kind of submission move. Probably not the abdominal stretch because no figures can really pull that off well. But I think there's some like a sleeper hold you'd want to be able to do properly. And will Ted DiBiase be able to do $1 Million Dream? Maybe it's not really important because that's not his look. But yeah, there's some submission holds I'm curious if we're going to be able to pull off just because of the articulation. Also, the lack of butterfly shoulders. I kind of wish that was something they had included right from the jump. I feel like that was such a game changer for Mattel's Ultimate Edition line because now figures can have a better range to just do that. And for a guy like Magnum TA, you'd really love for him to be able to swoop them up real tight and to do his belly to belly. So we've got that. Those are a few concerns. The accessories, there's some with that as well. Those jackets and robes that they're showing look like that hard plastic that's so impossible and hard to pull off of some figures, including Jazzwares AEW line. I really think that cloth is the way to go at all times for wrestling gear just because it's easy to pull on and off, and you don't want to mess up the plastic because the shoulder portion of a jacket is just too stiff and won't come off. So if they use this, maybe it's a softer material so it's easy to pull on and off, but hopefully that will not be a long-term issue. And finally, my other issue that I'm kind of curious about, maybe not so much like I think this is gonna be a problem, but the size of the title belts. I brought up my WWE Elite Ultimate Warrior just so you get a sense of how big this title is, And I wouldn't necessarily say this is the best fit in terms of a wrestling figure title. You see, it's a little big, but it looks like he's wearing a title belt. These PowerTown figures look like they might be a fraction of that size, like maybe like here, and look a little thin for the AWA title, for example. That was a big belt. I'm curious if they're going to scale those belts properly so they don't look like little strips. That's the one kind of thing I'm leery about. But hopefully, if that's a first wave problem, they can resize it. Nikita Koloff, for example, can definitely come with the U.S. title. And there are plenty of guys that can come with the World Class Association title. Kevin Von Erich, Chris Adams, Gino Hernandez. Maybe not Gino, but definitely Chris Adams, who's another figure I definitely want to see. And I, of course, want to see Gino Hernandez. But those guys, I mean, I'm so excited about the potential of having a world-class display. Having David, Kerry, Kevin, Gino, Chris, the Freebirds, all three, Jimmy Garvin, those guys, the great Kabuki, man, Iceman King Parsons, we're getting Brody. That's really exciting. And hopefully, I mean, they did already mention they're getting enough managers, so we got to get Skandar Akbar, we got to get Gary Hart. Maybe here's how we get that one-man gang that Mattel wasn't able to. But with 175 legends, you know there's got to be some of these characters that Mattel just wasn't able to sign that we're going to get finally in 6-inch figure form. Maybe here's how we get a Dino Bravo figure. I don't know. There's so much potential, and I can't wait to see what they do. Maybe here's where we get a Rock and Roll Express and a Midnight Express. So much stuff there. So many great options. But I'm sure you can tell by my excitement that I'm really looking forward to these figures. Let me know what you think about it. Are you wishing that Mattel had more of these guys signed up so there was no scale compatibility issue, that they all fit? They've already said at PowerTown they're going to make sure that these guys are in scale with both the Elite and the Unrivaled Unmatched figures from Jazzwares AEW. That's good. That's, you know, you don't want them too tall, too short, too like, why even bothering? Because they're not in scale with what's already been out. I think that was a huge problem what Figures Toy Company did when they started up with their Ring of Honor line. It was just like, these guys are scaled with the old school Ruthless Aggression figures that Jax was putting out, but you really need to be more in scale with what's going on now, what more people are collecting. So that's a really good sign. And in worst case scenario, I think people will be able to use these heads, these amazing head sculpts, and plop them onto Elite bodies. So either way, they're going to sell and crank out more. I mean, I think I'd be really happy if I got a full-ish version of the NWA and World Class, but I'd really love to see Mid-South and UWF too. So I don't know. There's lots of figures I want, and this is a really exciting time to be into wrestling. Let me know what you think about what PowerTown is doing, what you think about these reveals, what you think about title belts that we probably never saw coming actually going to be included with figures. And let me know if you're going to start grabbing these figures when they arrive late November, early December. All right, so thank you so much as always for watching. This episode of Loud's Figure Files has been filed.